So what you're looking at on the screen right now that I'm sure you guys all watched and looked at and studied yesterday when you got my blog post, which includes a write-up about our guest speakers. We have three tonight, and a discussion on the agenda for tonight. So again, we've got a pretty busy night here, but we have three folks coming on tonight to talk to us about the Sio Silica project. And the intention of this is to give a high-level explanation about what's going on there, what stages they're at, those kinds of things. I thought it would be, this isn't kind of the topic that we normally go through, although I don't know if that's true or not, because we seem to go through any topic. But a lot of members were asking me about this, and there's a lot of information out there, and there's a lot of confusion out there. So we thought we'd just hit it straight on, and we would get the folks from Sio Silica to come out. As you all know, I have also asked the community group to come out next week and present, but they're not returning my communications. So I will continue to talk to them or try to talk to them through the coming week. I do have a pre-recorded presentation by them, which I hesitate to do. I would rather have them on personally. So I just wanted to tell you guys that, so you know that we, as always, we try to give you both sides of the story, so you can make an informed decision on things on your own without, we're not the CBC. I know you hear me say that every week, but we don't censor. So in any case, so that's what we're going to talk about tonight. That's what our guest speakers are going to be all about. And again, the blog post, which I'm just whizzing by here, gives you some information on that. So welcoming remarks. Thank you, everybody, for coming. These gatherings are about more than just sharing information. They're about fostering connection, courage, and a strong, informed community rooted in truth and respectful dialogue. Once again, as you guys know, I'm recording all of this right now, but when I submit the video for the public, it only includes the presentation. I don't include the thumbnails of everybody, so you can be comfortable being online and us being able to see you. I think that's important, because you can't build community without seeing somebody, right? Respectful atmosphere. Manitoba Stronger is committed to maintaining a respectful and thoughtful environment for discussion. Our guest speakers may express viewpoints that are their own and not necessarily those of MST, and that's perfectly fine. We value a diversity of perspectives and believe that open civil dialogue is essential to a healthy, informed community. True diversity, and you guys have heard me say this week after week, true diversity isn't whether you're tall or short or thin or fat or green or purple or white or yellow or anything else. The true diversity is diversity of thought. That's the goal, to have diversity of thought, to have new ideas come in, and perhaps you don't agree with them, and that's all fine. That's all got to do with freedom of speech. Respectful atmosphere, we talked about that. Stay connected. There's our social media contacts. And again, you guys, this is all in the blog post that you should have got. If you're not getting the blog post and your email usually comes out on Mondays, email me. The contact is on the bottom of our website. So with that, Anthony, you want to talk about our favorite topic, the Winnipeg metropolitan region?
Yeah. Nothing new this week. There's still just the 10 that have opted out. And I've noticed, though, that the other municipalities, they're not even talking about it in their minutes or agendas anymore. So I don't know what's going on, why they're so quiet suddenly about it.
If there's anybody on the Zoom call tonight from Headingley, email me, because I'll share with you a video of the mayor of Headingley sitting in a board meeting saying that he has no idea what this whole thing is about. He can't sell it to the public because he's got nothing. And this was from January, I believe, it may have been December, saying that if they don't get something, they're going to get out, after the minister comes. The minister came now 2 weeks ago or 3 weeks ago. And, 2 RMs opted out right like the next day, and that was St. Clements and East St. Paul. So I don't know what the rest of these folks are doing sitting in there. They know now, what I understand, and I haven't gotten this confirmed, but my understanding was when the minister came in and talked to the board at the WMR 2 or 3 weeks ago, that there was no extension on the time, and there was going to be no extension on the deadline for the transitional stage. You guys remember what that is? So when Wab Kinew brought in the Freedom Bill, he kind of put a little bomb in it. And what he said was, in order to get out, you got to have a public hearing. You got to have, I don't know what it was, 90 days or 2 months or 3 months notice. And you got to have a recorded public hearing. And then you got to write a memo. And then maybe the minister will write a regulation to let you out. And then he said, but if you do it before the municipal election on October 28th, 2026, whoa, then all you got to do is write me a letter and we shall let you out. So he did that on purpose. He wanted to make it into an election issue. I did a whole blog post on it. It's about 3 weeks old or so. You can find it in our blog posts. So why these people aren't getting out when they know they're not going to have the plan before the election, and that that deadline happens, is beyond me. So if specifically, I would like to have that discussion with somebody from Headingley, because I have videotape of their mayor, I think it's Robson, saying exactly that, and they're not out yet. So, and they won't return my calls, by the way. So, anything else on that, Anthony?
No, our council in Stonewall has a meeting tomorrow. And apparently one of the councilors mentioned to the delegation that was there 2 weeks ago, they mentioned WMR. And one of the councilors, I wasn't at the meeting, but apparently had said that's going to be an issue for the next council to deal with.
So they're going to lock the next council in. That's what they're doing, because
Yeah.
if you don't, yeah, interesting.
When you go to these meetings, you're not allowed to ask questions, but I always get there early. So I'm going to drop this one on them and say, what are you doing? We'll see what the response is.
If there's anybody else from the town of Stonewall here, you guys write a letter. If you don't know what to say in the letter, email me and I'll come up with something for you. And you don't have to follow what I give you, but maybe it'll give you ideas, because I always want you to do your own thing. But if you need help, I'll give you help. So anybody from who's in that town, Stonewall, and you want to write the mayor and your counselor a letter, and you're a little uncomfortable with that, or you don't know what to put down, email me. I'll help you.
Well, that's that's one of the biggest problems we have, not just here, is there's only one or two of us going after these people and staying on top of them.
Yeah.
So, when there's only one or two, they don't seem to want to listen or don't have to listen.
Well, I wonder whether we should be doing a delegation to Stonewall. And again, I know you did one before, but they're obligated to let you do it. It's in the Planning Act. They can't refuse.
I've done two on WMR.
Yeah, but maybe we need 100 people with you.
Yeah, the first one we had 85.
Oh my goodness, that's right. I forgot about that.
Yeah, that was the first one, and that's what we need. Otherwise, they don't listen.
Well, let's talk about that, and let's come back to that. Let's have an offline discussion this week sometime when you have a chance, and then
Sure.
we'll see if we can't arrange for another 85-person group to go there. I mean, it's
Okay.
ridiculous. There's no
It
way
is.
these people should be still in it. I don't know. I don't know if they owe something to somebody. I don't know if they don't understand what the issues are. I can't answer that, because it just seems ludicrous to me.
Maybe they're in the
Yeah.
Epstein files.
Maybe they're what?
Yeah.
Maybe they're in the Epstein files. Sorry.
Well, you never know. All right. Nothing else on that, Anthony?
No, that's it.
If anyone else is in a municipality that's not opting out and you want some help, email me. Again, at the bottom of our webpage, there's a contact button. You press that and you can email me there. Okay, so general updates. So we have a couple of updates. March 18th, we talked about in the pregame show. That's on Wednesday. That's not this coming, it's next week, right? Is the 18th next week? Anybody? Or is it the week after? Yeah,
It's next week.
So next week on the Wednesday, there's a screening of The Shot. That's the Sean Hartman story. And that's going to be at the Park West Inn on Dale Boulevard. For those of you, it's free, by the way, but you need to sign up for the tickets. And I think I gave you, did I give you, I thought I put the links in here, but I don't. Oh no, I did. Here you go. So if you want to go to the one at the Park West Inn, you push this button. It should take you to there. The tickets are free. You just sign up for them. The only reason they have a ticketing thing is so they know how many people are coming. Jason Levine's going to be there speaking. I'm going to be there speaking. And then on the next night, on Thursday night, March 19th, we're going to be at our old friend Matthew's place at Mateo Center in Selkirk, 7 p.m. And again, Jason's going to be there. I'm going to be there speaking, doing a Q&A. So we've got those two screenings next week. And thank you to Chris Dubeski and Anthony Madden for arranging all this. I just get to present it to you like I've done something, but it's actually Anthony and Chris Dubeski that do all the work. So, so I thought you should know that. Our training session tonight, after the meeting, we'll take a 10-minute break, and then we're going to get into our another training session. Last week, if you remember, I took you through the RM of St. Clement's website to find the election bylaw, and we weren't clear as to whether or not it had gone through third reading or not. Rose, did you phone them and find out about that or not?
I did not. I'm sorry. I did not. I've been
Okay.
busy these last few days with out of town company. I'm sorry I didn't do it.
We didn't have Ottercon company. We had Rosalie's sister.
He's from out of town.
So in any case, so that's what's going on there. The WMR clips, I didn't include one in the schedule or agenda this week. I just ran out of time. I was working on a bunch of other stuff. Again, just a reminder: the province of Manitoba has now issued their election guidelines. It's in our learning module under module 8, and I think it's the last lesson, like lesson 5 or something. It gives you all of the information that's in the Manitoba guide, and there's a button you can push to actually download the guide from the Manitoba government. So it's all there for you. Let's see. So that's the candidate development handbook. We talked about that before. Next week, for our Zoom call, we're intending to have on a local residents group. Again, I mentioned in the pregame show that I have reached out to them. They are not returning my emails. We'll see what happens. The following Tuesday, and David, I believe, is my witness on this. Abi Khan has promised me he's coming on for next week, for the week after. So that's March 24th. If you recall, we had a bunch of misfires with him over the last months, but we cornered him on the Saturday. I didn't really have to corner him. He's pretty approachable. And he said to me, Ken, I promise I'll be on there. And if a man doesn't have his word, he doesn't have anything. And I went, okay, Abi. So we'll see. So that's March 24th. And with that, Deb, you can take it away. Deb, I know she's here. Does anybody see her on your screen?
Was.
You want David to do his instead?
You know what? She's not on for whatever reason. She must
Oh,
maybe
okay.
she dropped off or I don't
Yeah,
know.
David, go ahead. You got your 5 minutes to go through
Okay.
the bills you were talking about earlier.
Okay. Up until yesterday, up until last night, the government had put forward 44 bills, which is a huge number. Normally, after the consultation with the public, they can do sort of 4 or 5 in a week. So it's going to take them a long time. So either they're going to be busy this year and they're letting us know, or this is all a farce and they're going to let us know that this is not going to happen if they call an election. But I signed up to speak to 9 of these bills. The process is fairly straightforward. We can put it on the Facebook page. And I guess I did put a summary for most of those 9 bills. So I can give navigation pages in there. One of the more interesting one is Bill 33 to revise the Winnipeg Act. And that one is interesting largely because the new act doesn't force the city of Winnipeg to do what it's told. It just says the board or council of the town, like Winnipeg, must consider the municipal board's orders. Doesn't say it has to do what it's told or do what the law says. So when we have a city administration that has habitually gone to its lawyers and say, can we get away with breaking this law? And the lawyers always say, you pay me, so sure. Anyway, that it hasn't changed. And so there's an opportunity for all of us to speak to any of these bills. And we'll leave it at that. I will add a little commentary paragraph on each one of them in time. So that's just my report. There are none of them that they're hugely onerous, but certainly some interesting ones in there. Thanks.
Yeah, go online, read up about them.
Yeah, they're on. Well, I can go online, but the simple thing is just go to the Stronger Together Facebook page.
Yeah. And I just want to do a little point of clarification, Dave. Folks might not understand this, that if an election is called or the legislative session for whatever reason ends, any bills before the legislature just become kaput and they have to be reintroduced after the election or when the new session comes up. So what David's talking about as far as an election trick is they announce a whole bunch of bills that they know darn well they're not going to pass, but they put 44 bills on the docket. They call an election. They can then say, well, we put forward a bill that says blah, 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 all the time knowing they're not going to pass the darn thing. I just see Deb come into the waiting room. So she hopefully.
She's back. She's back.
Is she? Deb, are you there? But you go ahead, Deb. You got the floor.
Okay, well, I'm just going to have to give you my health report because I do not have access to my email right now.
Well, I can speak to the Barry Neufeld thing if you wish.
Sure, go for it.
So Barry Neufeld, it's a really interesting case. He testified at the Vancouver hearings in 2024 at the NCI. He was a school board trustee and he was opposing the SOGI curriculum in the school. Well, to make a long story short, he got sued by the union, the teachers union on it. And it went to I believe it went to the Supreme Court. And the teachers union used some legislation that's called anti-SLAPP, SLAPP. Now, this is all detailed in the NCI report, the 2024 Vancouver Are Our Children Safe report. So it's all detailed in there. But the union used this anti-SLAPP legislation. Anti-SLAPP was designed to protect ordinary folks, everyday folks like us, when we go up against a giant corporation or a giant union in order to protect us from being financially bled in the courts. So the union used that against Barry Neufeld, and the courts allowed it to be used. So he lost the court case, and then the Human Rights Commission assessed a penalty on him of $750,000. So the rest of them I can't speak to so much, but the Barry Neufeld one I can. And again, there's a lot of detail in the NCI report, the 2024 Are Our Children Safe Vancouver report. Now, Deb, do you want to go into the helpful health hints?
Yeah, thanks for doing that, Ken. Sorry about that. You just never know what's going to happen, eh?
Live TV.
So this week's helpful health hints is dealing with sciatica, and a lot of people do suffer from sciatica, and we look at treatment from the vitamin side of it, whether it be vitamin B12, vitamin D, and magnesium is especially important, just simply due to the fact that it relaxes or helps relax the muscles. Curcumin and also alpha lipoic acid. So those are some of the different things that you can use to help you out with sciatica. Having said that, it may not be for everybody. We do know of a neighbor that just had back surgery, not once, but twice. First time he went for surgery, he was home for about 4 days, and then the wound started to leak fluid, and he had to go back in for a second surgery. I haven't talked to him since to see how he's doing, but this stuff can be pretty serious. And at this time, I'd really like to take time to extend my heartfelt gratitude to Devon Harper, who has graciously accepted to help me out with some of the helpful health hints. And next week, he will be presenting some exercises, mild exercises that can help when you're dealing with sciatica. So, Devon, thank you very much for helping out with helpful health hints, and I'm hoping that we can form a partnership moving forward to deal with different things as they come up.
Yes, you're welcome, and my pleasure.
Well, you know, Devon is a really tough guy to get along with, you know that.
Well, so far it's been yes, ma'am, thank you, ma'am, and I'm going, okay.
That's the way Devon is, and he knows what he's talking about, this guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. So, Devon, we're going to look forward to that from you next week. Are you going to demo them right on the screen, or are you going to just do
Oh
it?
yeah, I was ready to do it today, but we can wait it off another
David, you've got your hand up. Sorry.
Yes, just not really a win of the week, but the interesting thing I found was that we know that the Theresa Tam is out of office as of the end of the month, and unfortunately, one of the most active, whatever you call it, progressives in Canada, our own Winnipeg, Joss Reimer, is taking over. I found it interesting if I get the emails from Rebel, anybody who goes to Rebel News can probably read what they've assembled on her history. So that's sort of interesting. Also, you know that our fearless leader was off in India and Bangladesh and so on, handing out money. While he was there, those people are out of oil. China and all of Asia got their oil from the Persian Gulf, and they can't get it now. And so while he was in Bangladesh, somebody said, "But you have oil. Can we just have more of yours?" And so the narrative wasn't that, "Oh no, we don't want our oil to go past our border. We want you to stop using it." The narrative was the price is too high.
To ship it.
Shipping it from BC to Bangladesh would be too high. It's the same price as shipping it from the Persian Gulf, but that message that pricing was too high was used by Canada to tell them to get lost. Thought that was amusing.
Well,
Since when did he care about prices? He just gave what, Bangladesh $272 million?
Yeah, for
Yeah.
better jobs.
And
Anyway,
the price of oil this week, by the way, the highest it was up to was $119 a barrel US. It's hovering around 103, 104 now.
mhm.
And Putin made an announcement a couple of days ago that Russia was seriously considering cutting off any oil shipments to Europe.
Why not? They're his enemy. Why would he?
Well, they need the money, but because it's interesting because everything's attached, right? So the fact that Iran is pretty much closed the Hormuz Strait and ships can't get out of there, so Europe doesn't have an alternate supply now. China, who gets I think 25% of their oil from Iran, can't get it from there, so they want more oil from Russia. So Russia doesn't need to be sending it to Europe anymore. Interesting. I'm sure Mr. Trump thought of all that when he sneak attacked Iran, though. But we'll just move on from there. So
Yeah, but then the new leader is the same as the old leader.
it's his son.
Yeah, great.
It's
We
a
had a contingency plan.
it's an interesting world. Now I'm going to stop share for a moment, and I am going to bring our guests up. And then they want to play a short video, but we'll do an introduction first. So the video I've got queued up, but I'm going to stop the share. I'm going to highlight our guests. But I thought we would start out by just some quick introductions from you folks. Let us know who you are and kind of some of the things we want to talk about tonight. And then we have a 7-minute video, and I'll share the screen and play that video, and then we'll come back to the announcements. So Carla and Jack, do you want to start off?
We're very grateful that you're having us on your podcast tonight. We're interested in meeting everybody, and I'm the president of Sio Silica. I'm Carla Devlin, and tonight we hope to provide accurate information and discuss our extraction method and provides just a clear oversight of the project that we're proposing in the Springfield area. And I'll pass it off to Jack for an introduction.
Yeah, thanks again for having us. And my name is Jack Winram. I was just appointed Chief Development Officer with Sio Silica. I'm just starting this week, and so excited to be part of the team. I moved over from a advocacy industry association called the Manitoba Environmental Industry Association. So glad to be here.
Oh, wonderful. And Jeff, you're new. You're a new face. I don't know that face. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yeah. Thanks so much for having me. My name is Jeff Reed. I'm the geologist with Sio Silica on the project here. Prior to joining Sio, I actually led the industry development team with the province, the Mineral Petroleum Geoscience Group, and joined Sio about a year ago. The project was such an interesting one to me that they drew me over, and I'm super happy to be here.
Well, wonderful. We're happy to have you. So I'm going to just go straight into the 7-minute introductory video. Do any of you want to give a little 2-second introduction into the video, or do you just want me to play it?
I'll just do a little bit of an introduction. When I came on board with Sio, which is almost 2 years now, one of the first things that we wanted to strategize was correcting misinformation and providing accurate information. And so every time we started a meeting, we would play the video, which allows for some questions to be answered, and then good conversation that would follow the videos. So it's 7 minutes of information. So I hope everybody enjoys it today.
Wonderful. We'll get right to it here. And here we go.
Welcome to this informative video about Sio Silica's Simba project. Sio's high-purity quartz sand extraction is really no different than a traditional water well. The technology hasn't changed for over 100 years and is the same process used to clean existing water wells. Our well sites are temporary, closely monitored, and return to their pristine natural state, making the entire process sustainable and environmentally responsible. Located in Manitoba, our project site is just outside the city of Winnipeg. This location is home to the Carmen Sand Deposit, rich in high-purity quartz sand. Sio Silica conducted a thorough hydrogeological study using 10,879 existing water wells. Our proposed operations water use is less than 1% compared to the top 10 water users in the region. This amount is less water than a typical golf course uses on a yearly basis. Our mineral claims extend over the Carmen deposit, allowing our proposed operations to be spread out geographically and over time. Compared to the claims identified in yellow, our 25-year project area is relatively small. The activity in this region will be staggered and spaced out as described later in this video. The process begins with a small drilling truck used for drilling water wells, positioning itself over a proposed location. With traditional water wells, a hole is drilled into the sandstone aquifer and a casing is left in place. The casing is then fitted with a sand screen to keep sand from freely traveling up the well. When a water well needs to be cleaned, an air pipe is lowered, creating bubbles that agitate and lift the blocking sand to the surface. This common process has been used countless times in the area and remains unchanged due to how effective and environmentally sound it is. Sio Silica's process is exactly the same as cleaning a well, but uses a second extraction tube without a sand screen. The extraction pipe is also allowed to be lowered and raised, allowing for the extraction of sand. The air pipe is lowered into the extraction tube and stays within the extraction pipe. Just as before, the air creates a lifting effect, raising water and sand to the surface. The extracted water is then filtered and treated with UV light, making it cleaner than when it was extracted. This cleaned water is then returned back into the formation through the original casing. Gravity is all that's needed to replenish the extracted water. The extraction tube is gradually lowered into the sand deposit, extracting sand and water and creating a room in the formation. The room becomes cylindrical in shape, and its size is closely monitored. A typical room size is approximately 18 meters in diameter and 6 meters in depth. Compare this to the engineered maximum allowable room size of 25 to 40 meters. It's easy to see that our typical room size is well within this engineered safety threshold. When a new room is to be created in the vicinity of an existing one, it is kept to a minimum spacing of 60 meters. This helps maintain the integrity of the deposit and leaves an undisturbed zone between the rooms. This zone is called the pillar and is the foundation of room and pillar mining, a successful mining practice used in Canada and around the world. Much like a bridge is supported by columns, the pillars support the limestone above. This essentially turns the limestone into a beam-like structure, supporting the rooms below. The engineered room and pillar design utilized by Sio has a designed engineered safety factor greater than 2. This is significant as water dam failures that are deemed catastrophic to life and elevated above residential property are only designed to a safety factor of 1. Both graphics of the Carmen sand deposit on either side of the line are shown at 100% of their size. Watch the graphic on the right as it is scaled down to 99%. The yellow edge represents the less than 1% of the sand that Sio will extract over 25 years. Sio uses no chemicals, nor does it use open pit mining. In fact, Sio has independently contracted ACON to actively test the sustainable extraction process since 2019, monitoring both water quality and subsidence, and there has been no changes observed in either to the present day. When the sand and water reach the surface, the air is vented to atmosphere, and the water is separated from the sand with an on-site dewatering station. The water is then passed through a filtering and UV treatment system, making the water cleaner than it was at extraction. This water is then returned to the well to replenish the water extracted. All free water is returned to the aquifer. The sand is the only product removed from the project site and is placed into a separate water loop that circulates between the project site and facility. This water transport loop is self-contained and efficiently moves the sand to the facility where it is eventually stockpiled. All well sites are fully reclaimed and left in pristine condition upon completion. These reclaimed images were all taken 1 year after project site completion. A joint environmental oversight committee will be established consisting of members from both the Broken Head Ojibwe Nation and Sio Silica, ensuring all decisions are carried out with reverence and the consideration of future generations. High-purity quartz sand is necessary for many green and sustainable technologies. Most common applications are electronics, solar panels, medical glass, specialized coatings, advanced processing equipment, cosmetics, pharmaceuticals, and semiconductors. Our high-purity quartz sand is needed for all of these global industries, making it the most environmental high-purity quartz sand for green technology. Thank you for watching this video, and let us work together to put Manitoba on the world stage.
Well, that answers a whole bunch of the questions that I was going to ask tonight, so that means we can kind of move past that. Jeff, is there anything there that in your experience, folks watching the video, you might want to expand on, or you just want to touch on to explain to folks?
Oh, there's always, all sorts of questions that come up about the project. The most notable one to me is, I've worked in natural resources, my entire career, almost 20 years now. And the reason I joined the company is because this is, it's by far the cleanest resource project I've ever worked on. We don't use a single chemical in the process. We literally extract sand and water, and then we put the water back. The safety factor that they mentioned in the video there. It's relevant, and a lot of people don't necessarily know what a safety factor of one is or a safety factor of two is. But I would encourage anyone to take a look at that because it really does show how safe and stable this project is. And I'd be happy to talk about all the different levels of safety that we've considered, both on the surface and the subsurface for this project.
Okay. This is probably for Carla and Jack. What stage? Well, let me back up a little bit. Up till now, what have you guys done on the site in order to prove the technology or assure yourselves that this is going to work the way you want it to work?
Yeah, so I'll start that conversation. To date, we've drilled approximately 75 wells, and Jeff, you can verify that for me. Is it 75?
Yeah.
Yes. And we've extracted around 10,000 tons of silica out of those wells. And we did baseline testing prior to extraction. And so we're doing constant monitoring of the aquifer and of the ground movement. And so for the past 5 years for sure, we have data that shows that there's no adverse effect to the extraction process. And so I'm going to let Jack move into the water quality a little bit because we've implemented a Manitoba company. And so I'm going to let him take that. And then after, Ken, if you don't mind, I'd like to go into the purity and the economics of the project. So, But I'll let these guys talk about the extraction process first.
Absolutely.
If you want, Jack,
Sure.
before you get going on the water quality, I can speak to the technology a little bit.
Sure.
Yeah, so just to kind of discuss, our confidence in the technology that we're going to be using. You kind of saw in the video there that we're kind of leveraging an existing tool that's been used for a long time, throughout Canada and specifically, throughout this area in Manitoba. But kind of specifically with this stuff, as Carla said, we've done tests, pulling up material from the subsurface using this method, and kind of while we're doing this, we are implementing an absolutely kind of rigorous monitoring process, right, to ensure that not only the technology was doing kind of exactly that what we thought it would, but also kind of doing our own due diligence in terms of confirming that the carbonate that beam layer that sits over top is kind of safely remaining in place. A thorough understanding of what those rooms look like in the subsurface and that they behave the way that we anticipated that they do. And kind of throughout this whole testing process, we really did refine our methodology and our method to get this project done. And everything was done exactly as planned. There weren't any issues associated with it, and so it really gave us a lot of confidence that once we do get this license from the province, that we're really going to be able to implement this project in an incredibly safe manner, and provide those benefits to Manitobans, which I really think that we need here in this province.
Well,
Sorry, go ahead there, Jack.
Just before you go off that though, you had mentioned that you had drilled 75 wells. Have you actually extracted and created the chamber at the size that the operational facility is at and tested that to that size, or did you know what I'm trying to ask?
Yeah. So all the 75 wells, a lot of those were kind of exploratory wells, right? So kind of as you're determining the size and scope of the resource you have in the subsurface, a lot of those are just kind of they're just test holes essentially. And then so during the extraction process, we created the rooms as expected. And what we actually used is we put down what's called a sonar tool. I'm sure kind of anyone can imagine what that looks like. It creates kind of a ping effect, and what it does is it actually creates almost a model of what that room is going to look like. And so we were able to kind of recreate those rooms, have an understanding of how that sand behaves in the subsurface, and they're created safely, and that everything the beams over top, the carbonate over top sits nicely without any unanticipated movement.
Okay. Go ahead, Jack.
Yeah, and in full transparency, I should say that I actually live in the area, about a 12-minute drive from the site here. I live just south of Beausejour, between Beausejour and Vivian. And I've been watching this project since 2019. It's and albeit with some apprehension, I understand some of the fears in the area from residents who drink from the aquifer. Now, let me be clear that there's actually two aquifers. The aquifers that most of us, or the aquifer that most of us are on, is the Red River carbonate aquifer that is above this aquifer. There's actually not that many people who are attached to the sand aquifer, but nonetheless, there is an impact on both aquifers. But also coming from the Environmental Industry Association that represents the scientists and engineers that provide the environmental assessments and the environmental monitoring and the environmental practitioners' expertise on various natural resource projects all over Canada. We are saying, from our Prime Minister to our Premier to First Nation, Indigenous communities, that critical minerals is a huge part of Manitoba's advantage. And this is a critical mineral. It's called Silicon Valley for a reason, because the main component that is built, all big tech is built on, is silicon. In fact, we're enjoying this video conference right now with all the hardware built from high purity silica, the fiber optics, the laptops, the phones, and we're not stopping, we're using it. And so in the interest of sovereignty and in the interest of putting our best foot forward on environmental footprint, so we're not actually reliant on other countries and other geographical regions that maybe don't have standards as high, it was important for me to jump in on this project, and that was my attraction, because I do feel that the project has unfairly been labeled as unenvironmental, and it's just not true relative to the natural resource development in the country. So the water quality in the aquifer has had extensive analysis and assessment, and we're going to be planning a risk management plan going forward. The technical term for that is the trigger action plan, and so that's going to be part of the proposal that is before the review of the government right now. And so there's a lot of redundancy and safety factor built into this, and so I'm confident that Sio Silica is doing the right things. And I think where we need to do better is entering forums like this, where we can explain what this project is really all about and the importance of it for our sovereignty, and to tap into those critical minerals for economic development.
Well, I appreciate that. And
well, sorry, just one thing, Carla wanted to remind me. Again, being part of the association, I'm aware of a lot of members that work in water quality. And one of the companies that we were able to introduce Sio Silica to was a company in Pinawa called Aquatic Life. And they are experts and also manufacturing some of the state-of-the-art environmental monitoring equipment. And we're going to be working with them quite closely to set up a monitoring system for a baseline of the quality of the water in the region, as well as to monitor through the operation and lifetime of the mine.
Now, I don't know why I'm getting that feedback. There we go. Oh, maybe not. You know what I can't see anybody else is going to microphone on, but I know that you guys have announced in the last month or so some kind of an arrangement with the University of Manitoba. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Take that.
Who wants to take it? Jeff, are you more familiar technically? I mean, I can talk to the partnership.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. So it's we're working with the engineering department at the University of Manitoba, specifically Dr. Ricardo Mantilla. And so it's a really interesting project where he's actually developing a new technology. It's a non-invasive technology, using advanced physics to actually monitor. It uses water densities to monitor aquifer water movement. And so the applications, not only to our project, but to the community in general, and also just subsurface hydrological understandings is significant here. So I'm sure Carla will speak to this as well. But we're super excited to not only be kind of part of developing this new technology, but also the application that it could potentially have for our project, just to increase that public confidence in what we're doing, right? Ricardo's incredibly excited, I think, to get this going and to release all sorts of new information. So it's a fun project for us to be a part of.
Go ahead, Carla.
So it's used in other parts of the world where water is of grave concern. And in Manitoba, we're not monitoring our aquifers consistently, or maybe properly, I would say. And so we're not just implementing this for our project, we're implementing the system for monitoring of all the aquifers in Manitoba. And Sio is committed to build out a hydrology department within the University of Manitoba, which is going to afford PhD students the research that they need to further their careers. And we're also going to collaborate with First Nations so that it's not just engineering, it's also understanding First Nations perspective of water and ground movement and how nature works well with engineering and how they can collaborate to ensure that we're protecting at the same time as advancing. And so that's one of our programs with the university. And we had another announcement, unfortunately, wasn't picked up by media, which it's groundbreaking research in batteries. So I don't know who wants to give the technical aspect of that, if Jack, you want to, or if Jeff, you want to take that one.
This one is with it's the chemistry department, and I'm no super battery expert, but it's using new materials for anodes. It's essentially applying silica as a battery anode. I'm not the best to speak to it, but it's quite an exciting battery development in terms of its potential application. It has impacts on battery life and chargeability and so on, right? So the research needs to continue on it, but it's a super exciting advancement, and should it come to fruition, Manitoba could be the center of the development of new battery materials and new battery technology, which I think is pretty exciting.
I do want to get into talking about the economic impact, but we've spent a fair bit of time talking about what's going on below the ground. And I'd just like some kind of an idea of what the operations are going to be above the ground. Like, for instance, are we talking about the sand being placed into silos, or is it ground storage? Is there going to be a lot of traffic involved? I know there have been some concerns voiced by public about dust, those kinds of things. Can you give me some kind of an idea of what the above ground operations are going to look like?
So I'll start that and then I'll hand it off to Jack. So we will be operating for 8 months out of the year because we won't be drilling through the winter months. The site will have, let's just say if we had 4 drilling trucks on site, we would have, probably a crew of maybe 20 people being at the site, throughout the day. So they would drive their vehicles to the site, park, and then they would get into the the rigs, and they would work, and then you'd have your safety crew, and you've had, you know, everybody else, your supervisors, there'd be a trailer there. It's not your typical mine site, right? So we're not having like food stations, we're not having camps. This is somewhere that they go to work every day and they go home from. We're close enough to community. So for noise, you know, we're not impactful with noise at all. And then for traffic, like I say, you know, on average, maybe 20 people daily. So we don't have a lot of impact on traffic. And then for the silica dust, which I saw a couple of questions pop up, it's a closed loop system that goes to the facility where it is then dried and bagged and tagged and put on rail immediately and then shipped out. So we have no exposure to air with silica dust. So there is no threat of silica dust with the process when we're extracting, and when it's going to the facility, it's in a closed loop system.
Okay.
Do you want to add to that?
No, I think that just about covers it. It's, I think the thing to keep in mind that relative to what you would typically think of as a conventional mine, where it's a giant open pit or a conventional head frame with underground shafts, that's not what this is at all. It would be a module operation that would move from site to site. There will be a building on the property that we have that will process the sand for shipping out.
I appreciate.
I can also,
And that building is about 15,000 square feet, so it's not very large either.
Okay, Jeff, go ahead. You were gonna.
yeah, I was just going to add that, you know, kind of to speak to what Carla and Jack had mentioned there, you know, each well is only in production for about 2 weeks. So as Jack really, I think appropriately mentioned, you know, this project doesn't create a scar on the surface like your conventional mine would. You know, each well produces for about 2 weeks, and we're really mobile. We'll move to the next one. But as soon as we move to the next one, reclamation on the first well begins. So we're drilling and producing while we reclaim. So we're reclaiming as we kind of move along here. So it really is a fluid operation.
Right. All right. So you're bringing up a slurry essentially, and then that slurry is being pumped into something. Is it going into a truck and then taken to the facility for drying and stuff, or is it?
Yeah. So when Carla mentions like a closed loop system or a slurry line, you know, it really is kind of it's a slurry of sand and water that kind of moves around the property until it gets to the processing facility there. And once again, as she mentioned, you know, it's never exposed to the air. You know, it's never sitting outside. So it kind of remains in this kind of perfectly closed loop system that mitigates not only air exposure but water use as well.
Okay, I want to jump to economics. What economic benefits could Manitobans expect for this project, particularly in terms of jobs and investment for our own people?
Sure. So just before I get there, I wanted to address the video. I see that the video was not updated and Broken Head was not removed from the video. It was a video that was created when we were in conversations with partnerships with Broken Head, but we are now in those conversations with Long Plains First Nation, and they are doing an environmental review of their own on the project, which should be finalized in the next week or so. And I hope that media would pick that up because, you know, we don't always get those good stories picked up.
Yeah, and that is unprecedented. It's unusual to have that, but I think this is part of the story for Sio Silica and our willingness to go above and beyond and work with First Nations to do their own environmental review process in parallel to what the province is already doing.
Okay. I just want to acknowledge before we move on, there's lots of questions in the comment section. Guys, put your questions in the comment section because we're almost out of time, and I will forward them to them later on offline. But we're just about running out of time. But I do want to talk about economics.
Okay, so this is my favorite part. So Sio is a bit of an untold story because it's been hijacked over the years with a lot of misinformation. And so the resource itself comes out of the ground at a 99.86. And with a simple magnetic water wash, we can bring it to a 99.9. And that allows us to start entering the advanced manufacturing industry. And through research and development, introducing a chemical, we've been able to bring it to a 5N product. So that's a 99.999. And when you get to the 99.999, you know that you can start moving through beneficiation, furthering that, and then you can start hitting all of those great advanced manufacturing opportunities. And so one of our partners is RCT Solutions. They are a German-based solar panel manufacturing organization that wants to come to Manitoba. They want to build a plant that would employ 8,000 people directly. 3,000 of those jobs will be engineers. 1,200 jobs will be allocated to First Nation members. And what Dr. Peter Fath does is that he creates a university within a university, and he trains people as the facility is being built out. So then they go into the facility with a diploma, and they're qualified to work in his plant. And so that plant would be the largest supplier of solar panels to North and South America. And so what that does too, it's job creation. It's a $3 billion capital investment into our province, but it also allows for us to correct the solar panel industry in Manitoba and make it more affordable for families to be able to start getting themselves onto solar when it's in our backyard. Apart from that, Sio Silica is committed to build out 10 to 12 different advanced manufacturing plants. And that starts with, RCT solution. We go into the silicon metal. So we're able to create the wafers for the solar panels. We can go into a powder form, which is used in fillers for all kinds of things. And we also want to build a beneficiation center. And I want to explain that because it's kind of key and critical to what's going on in the world today. So if we took the silica out of the ground, we would have to ship it to Norway to be beneficiated. And what I mean beneficiated is bringing it to that higher purity of a 5N plus and beyond. And then it would come back to North America through China, Malaysia, and come back into North America, and then into the advanced manufacturing. We want to alleviate that shipping and also the threat of our critical minerals being confiscated one day by anybody in the world. And if we built it in Manitoba, we would then control critical minerals, which is key because we enter the national defense sector. So our silica can be used in national defense. And when we're talking and looking at what's happening in the world today, it's important that we're protecting our sovereignty. And that is what Sio Silica can do for Canada. We can protect our sovereignty. So when we're talking to the federal government, although we don't need federal approval, it's a provincial approval. We check all the 5 boxes of a national interest project. And so we are that key component of protecting Canada now and into the future. And we also have the ability to ship through the AGG, so the Churchill Port or the Nelson River Port. And that's then sharing, our resources with Europe. They desperately need the resource as well. There is a global shortage looming in regards to this resource, so high purity quartz silica, especially because of AI coming on board. The main ingredient to AI is fiber optics. The main ingredient to fiber optics is high purity quartz silica. So that global shortage that was predicted to be like around 2032 is now going to be a lot shorter a lot closer because of everything that's happening with data centers and AI. And so when those shortages hit, this resource will come out of the ground because the whole world is coming for it. We have 15 billion tons of it. It's a 500-year mine life. It is generational wealth created for Manitobans in advanced manufacturing and mining. It's environmentally friendly. So we are on the map in the world. We're talked about in magazines around the world that we are environmentally friendly. What Sio Silica needs is politics to remove themselves from proponents having opportunities in Manitoba, and then you can see us starting to advance. And so when we're talking about economics, we're talking about in the first couple of years, we're talking about 8,000 plus jobs, direct jobs, and about 17,000 plus indirect jobs. Move that further to 4 years ahead of approval, you're looking at about 25,000 indirect jobs, and then we're up to probably about 12,000 jobs. So it has a massive impact on our economy, and it's the way of the future. So if we are not taking this resource and having the value added to Manitoba today, we will eventually be the mine. We will ship it out of here, and other states, not provinces, not Canada, will benefit from the resource in advanced manufacturing because they're all moving out of China. We know what's happening in Europe with cost of, electricity. So they're moving their plants closer. And if they're not, if Manitoba is not signaling to the world that we're open for business, they're going to go on the other side of the border, and we're eventually just going to ship it out. And that's what's the most frustrating from the business perspective of Sio is I've lived in Manitoba my whole life, and I want to see Manitoba be successful. I have 4 children. I've already lost one to Alberta. I want to bring my son home. I want others to be able to stay home, right? Because a lot of kids today, my kids are all, in their 20s. It's you get your degree and you get your diploma and away you go, and you got your suitcase in hand. And so we need to have those jobs created here. And Sio Silica brings that to Manitoba. We offer that, and we can create that. And we also are collaborating with First Nations. We want First Nations to have 51% ownerships in these businesses. We want to have we want to provide them with the ability to create wealth for their nations. We want to help them with solar to get, to be able to be off the grid. These are really important items for us, especially knowing that we have issues with our power in Manitoba. So there's lots of things that Sio Silica brings to Manitoba from an economic perspective. I could probably sit here and talk forever about it. But first and foremost, it puts us on a global map. It says that Manitoba can supply to the world, and Manitoba can help the world. And I think that's a great story. And it's the untold story that's been hidden, and kind of blanketed from a lot of misinformation. And so like I said, we're very grateful to be here today, sharing this information with you. We will take all your questions. We will email you back your answers. We're willing to have meetings. We're willing to sit down with community. We are here to provide solutions, answers, and let you know the truth. And into the future, we'll have committees. We want to have community input. We want to hear your concerns. We want to address them. Do you want to add anything?
No, I think
the one thing I will also add in, and I'm reading a lot of the kind of the dialogue that's popping up here, is talking about independent water monitoring and independent testing. And one thing Jack mentioned earlier, the company Aquatic Life that we're currently working with. As of right now, we've got 2 of our wells that were drilled in the last few years. We've got Aquatic Life water monitoring tools downhole in the aquifer currently reading. And the very unique thing about Aquatic Life is that they broadcast the results or the water monitoring data live. So absolutely anybody in Manitoba, around the world, in the Springfield community, anyone that wants to see the status of the water currently on our property, they can log in and watch the tools. And we're going to continue that. We're hoping to expand it into the future. But once again, this is just, I think another source of transparency that we're really trying to get out there. We want people to see this and see that, there's nothing to hide here. We really believe in our process. We really believe that it's incredibly safe. Please go take a look at it for yourself.
Where do they get that link in order to log into that, Jeff?
Yeah, so it's through the Aquatic Life. Off the top of my head, I'm not familiar with an exact web page, but I can get it to you, and you can post it up or
Be
whatever
happy
it
to
looks
do
like
that.
there.
Yeah. Now, where are you guys at? Like, my next question was going to be about community engagement, and Carla, you answered that already. But where are you in the regulatory process? Like, what are you waiting for or not waiting for in the process to try to obtain to move forward?
Currently, we're waiting for the comments and the TAC comments.
The technical.
Technical
yeah.
review.
And once we get those, we have a period of time to answer. And then after it goes back to the EAB, I believe then we'll be waiting for an approval.
Yeah, so this process was started back in August with the submission, and we were put on the registry. And then once it was on the registry, the public was allowed to provide their comments for a period of time. I think it was 60 days or 30 days.
Yeah, I can't remember the exact amount.
And then there was a public forum that Sio hosted as well. And so right now the province is reviewing all of those responses. By the very nature of this, they got quite a few responses. So they're working through that right now. And our understanding is that they've also worked through the technical review, and the company will be getting a response to that shortly.
Yeah, so the province, they distribute our application essentially to all of their specialists internally, right? So their biologists, their hydrologists, their engineers all review our application, and the technical advisory committee comes back to us with any questions that they may have. We'll get the opportunity to work with them to walk through any of those questions, provide any answers, and then we move forward from there.
Okay, I appreciate.
And this is a very unique process too, Ken, in that the company has provided a very cautionary, staged and phased approach with a 5-year window to start off slowly and gather the data. The engineers and the scientists have done a lot of work on the study, but we want real world data. And so for the next couple of years, within a 5-year window, we're going to collect more data and then submit that again in full transparency to the province and the public.
Okay, we've gone 10 minutes over our 60-minute window, and we're pretty anal about this. But I'll give you guys, any one of you, an opportunity. Is there any closing remarks you'd like to make, or something you may have forgotten that you want to get out to our members?
Yeah, I'll just mention that the reality of our modern day life is that we need critical minerals, and when you have a mine, you disrupt the ground, and when you dig a hole in the ground, you're going to impact water. So then it becomes, how do we manage that with our best foot forward to protect the environment? I do believe that here in Manitoba, we have some of the best people to make sure that we are managing that forward. That's relative to other places in the world, which I commented on earlier. So, it's a fact. I just happen to be living in all my life in communities that are mining. I grew up in Thompson. There's a giant open pit and a big head frame. I live near Beausejour, where there's a big silica sand open pit that was where a glass factory existed earlier in the century. And so the reality is that when you dig a hole in the ground, you are impacting water. The thing that's important is, how do we manage that to make sure that we're putting our best foot forward? And I'll say that what has intrigued me about Sio is, as political leaders say and policymakers say, and as the association that I used to work for say, we want the mining sector to be innovative and creative to make sure that we're using the best technology to improve our environmental footprint. And CIO's come up with a way here using an old technology to extract this sand that isn't a big open pit and that it isn't creating big cavernous holes like a head frame in a hard rock mine. And so I think that we need to recognize that is it's a novel way and approach to look at the extraction of this sand, at the same time reduce and minimize its footprint as much as possible.
Well, wonderful. I appreciate you guys coming on tonight and giving our membership information. I know everybody was charged up for questions and answers, but unfortunately I kind of let things go on a little too long. But they're going to submit, anybody who has questions, submit them to me by email and I'll pass them on. Also remember in your email, if you want me not to share your email with these folks, let me know and I'll just send it on under my email. But if you're okay with me sending your email direct, that's fine too. We will do that. But again, thank you very much for coming on tonight and giving us the information. I think it's important that our members get to one-on-one hear the story from both sides so they can make an informed consent. I think informed consent has suffered in all sectors in this country and probably in the world as of late. But so we're trying to give everybody as much information as we can. And I appreciate you guys taking the time to do this with us.
Appreciate the opportunity.
Thanks so much for having us.
Thing. I just want to add one thing, Ken, if I could. I just want to say that the application that we applied for is 25 wells in the first year. We've already drilled 75. We're only asking for 100,000 tons of sand in the first year. In year 3, we'll move up to 300,000. Year 5, we'll move up to 500,000. So we've done it in a stage approach so that we can grow that confidence in community and in Manitoba in general. So we are listening and we're trying our best to be transparent and create confidence. And I do believe that we will see this be successful and Manitoba will prosper for the project.
All right. Again, thanks a lot for coming on tonight. And we're just going to go to our close up here. We have believe it or not, we're all going to school after this. So that's a wrap on on what we're doing tonight. Again, there were a lot of questions in the Q&A. I saw that. I'm not trying to ignore that. If you can send me emails with your questions, I will forward them out and I'll actually post the answers in a blog post. And again, if you don't want your email shared with these folks, tell me in the email to me and I'll just send the question without your name on it. And again, I'll do a blog post and I'll put all the questions and answers in there.
I just want to also say something that I copy and pasted all the comments and I have kept them. But I think it's a good idea, like Ken says, to send him a separate email with all the questions because they're all very important.
Yeah, and again, I'll protect your emails from them if that's what you wish. If you want me to send your email so that you have direct response, that's fine as well. Next week, again, I have been trying to get the community group who opposes this on. I want to give them everybody. I want you to see both sides of this from both sides so you can make an informed decision. And I'm not giving up on that. I'm going to keep trying this week. I actually think that 1 or 2 of those people were on the call tonight and doing questions. And if you are, please get a hold of me. And on my emails on our website, contact at the very bottom, it says contact us or contact something like that. Get a hold of me. If you want to pre-record something, that's fine as well. And then we'll give you a session next week so that you can talk about what you heard and what your concerns are. So
we're all about open, honest transparency.
Yeah.
Yep.
So with that, I'm going to wrap up this part of the meeting tonight. Thank you, everybody, for coming out. We look forward to seeing you next week.